Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to our special presentation, the final Wellness Wednesday edition of our informationals titled Anxiety. What's that? Thank you so much, whether you are tuning in live or watching a replay. We sincerely appreciate your support. My name is DeShara Doub, and I am the founder and chief executive officer of Vision of Promise LLC. And I am so excited and so grateful for you to tune into this informational session. So first and foremost, if you have not already, please like our Facebook page, Vision of Promise LLC. We also have an Instagram where we share mental health tips and wellness information. Also, Vision of Promise LLC is our Instagram name. And you are more than welcome to visit our website, www.thevisionofpromise.com. So again, thank you so very much for your support, and let's dive right on in. And so, when it comes to when we talk about Mental Health Awareness Month, very last Wednesday of the month, we have talked about everything from depression. We've talked about self-care and wellness. But one of the things that many of us deal with, particularly those that have a lot on our plate, that is balancing life, is anxiety. And people intertwine anxiety and depression together a lot. And I thought it was important to break them up, to specifically talk about anxiety, because it's something that a lot of people deal with that they least expect. And so I wanted to provide a definition of anxiety. So it's a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically around a upcoming event or an inevitable event or something with an uncertain outcome. Many of us have dealt with anxiety at some point in time in our life, particularly those that are trying to balance a whole lot in their life. They're trying to sort out many different things, hoping for the best, hoping for, a positive outcome, an outcome that they're anticipating. But a lot of times while people are in waiting for a phone call and waiting for that email and waiting for that response, a lot of people start having these feelings, right? They start having maybe agitation. They start getting nervous, have their palms are sweating, their heart is beating fast, all those different signs of anxiety. And so I think it's really important to talk about, because everybody from children to the elderly has dealt with anxiety at some point in time in their life. Just to take a poll on a couple of things, how many of you have ever had your heart palpitate, or your palms are sweaty or even shaky when you are in crowds or when you have to do a presentation with somebody? This is a true story. I myself have dealt with anxiety. And honestly, my first experience with it was as a child, singing in the choir, right? Being in front of hundreds of people. I got nervous. I was shaking like this, and a lot of people laugh, right? If you think about when you were a child, if you had that classmate that gets in front of everybody and they start to stutter and they start to sweat or they start to shake or say a whole lot, or a lot of people have like this freeze face where their eyes are bulging out or they can't catch their words. That can be a form of anxiety for a lot of people. And so I think it's interesting because depending on what type of person you are, anxiety can kind of come out in many different ways. And so I think it's important for people to realize that sometimes it can be an imminent event, or it could be something that you don't even know the outcome of. So let's just throw out a couple things. Say you are applying for a job and you're not very for certain if you're going to get the job or not. The waiting period can definitely bring anxiety. Right? Say you are in a relationship and you are waiting on bated breath for the love of your life to propose to you. You can start getting anxiety because it might be event that comes up. It might be an outing that you go to and you are really anticipating, like, oh my God, this is it, right? And you start to have those feelings that come about that can make you start feeling anxious. It can make you start feeling like, oh my God, I don't know what to expect or what's to come. Even going way on the other side, you might be in a doctor's office waiting on test results. The waiting period, the time where you have to sit and ponder, your mind starts to wander. You start to play out, well, what if they say yes? What if they say no? And even the anticipation can start to bring about a lot of fears and a lot of anxiety. And so I think it's important for a lot of people to kind of see that even as a child and even as an adult, everybody kind of deals with that in certain ways. Now, everybody doesn't deal with anxiety, right? But a lot of us do. And it's important to not only unstigmatize the idea of anxiety, because people like myself live with anxiety daily, right? But I think it's also important to know, what does it look like when you're anxious, and how do you cope with that type of issue, concern. And so I think it's important to kind of navigate, how does anxiety look. Like, for example, with children, anxiety again can be everything from an inability to come up with words, right? And I think as children, we also need to realize that, there is a limitation on the kind of words you can use. And even as adults, sometimes we're like, I can't get that word. What's that word I'm looking for? I can't get my words together. But as a child, sometimes children can't articulate their feelings, right? They can say, oh, I feel bewildered, or I feel uncertain, or frightened. I think, sometimes kids can use very simple words. Again, it's all in developmental. But I think it's important to recognize that when words can't be described, actions happen, right? So being antisocial, right? Saying, oh, I don't feel like, going outside today. I don't feel like being around X, Y, and Z person. Wanting to be to yourself can be a form of anxiety. It could be a coping skill, right? It could be a way of ensuring that you can manage that feeling. It can also have physical manifestations. So it can be anything from having a stomach ache. How many of us as kids, right? Oh my God, I have a headache. Oh my God, I have a stomach ache. I just don't feel well. Just trying to avoid the inevitable. Now, let's be honest here, okay? For all of us adults that are not too far removed from school, how many of us have at one point in time in our life been sick or gotten sick before a major test or a presentation? Raise your hand. Let's be honest, right? A lot of us have, particularly when it comes to standardized tests, when it came to a major exam, a major presentation. A lot of people would get flustered, right? Scared. And it doesn't matter how much preparation you had. It doesn't matter how much, how prepared you are and you're like, you got this. A lot of people have that nervousness. And even if it's not prior to, the idea of someone calling your name and you're having to take that walk, that long mile, right? And mile walk to the front of the class to speak in front of your peers, to speak in front of strangers, to speak in crowds of people can bring anxiety for a lot of people. And so that's how it looks a lot of times for children. And it's interesting because even as I describe how anxiety can look, it can look the same way even for adults. And so I think it's very important for us to realize that a lot of times, even as kids, some people made fun of, or some people thought maybe it was weird when that kid will fumble their papers, right, or drop stuff on the floor, or just little things that now as an adult, you can actually identify and say, oh, that kiddo might have had anxiety. And again, that's the same way with adults. Many of us, as working professionals, we could have something major coming up, a project we've been working on. We have been assigned a major assignment. We have to prepare documents. A lot of us are at the end of the year reports that we have to submit for whatever company or organization you're a part of. And so a lot of people have anxiety around this time. Some people have anxiety around money, around trying to present in front of key stakeholders. It can look many different ways for many different people, but again, that is the key to recognizing that you have some anxiety. So I wanted to break down a little bit how anxiety can manifest itself for many different people. Again, this is not a complete list. It can look in many ways that I explained earlier with children as well as with adults. So I wanted to kind of just provide a little bit of context. So excessive worry. A lot of people can worry about things, right? And many people have their ideals when it comes to worry. Some people, just lay it at, just lay it down, put it to the side. People say it's nothing to worry about. It's nothing to, think too hard about. But when it starts to become something that impacts you negatively, that's when it starts to become excessive. So if you find yourself thinking about a particular topic and it almost is like the only thing you think about, you're thinking about it first thing in the morning, you're thinking about it throughout the day, you can't even sleep because you're thinking about it, that is excessive worrying. Again, a lot of people have worry for many different reasons. It could be dealing with bills, dealing with an imminent upcoming event or project or whatever that looks like. You could worry, oh my God, is my car going to start tomorrow morning? Or a lot of people have problems of where's my next meal coming from, and that can be a worrying type of dynamic, right? But I think when it starts to impact you, when it starts to affect your day to day, that is something that's definitely concerning. Feeling agitated. Now, I mentioned this earlier because a lot of people that experience anxiety has different physical things that happen to them. They can be very sweaty. You could probably see it on their face. Some people just have sweat just pouring down their face, the back of their neck. Sometimes people shake. Sometimes people cry, right? Some people have rapid heartbeats. So I don't know if anybody has ever experienced this, but I actually first experienced it riding a roller coaster. Like you get on a roller coaster, you have like this adrenaline rush, you're so excited, but as it slowly tips up to the top, it's just boom, 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 boom. Like you just feel like your heart is beating out of your chest. And it can happen in many other different ways too. It can be when you're going somewhere new, when you're meeting someone new, when you're doing some big event, when you feel like you have a lot of pressure completing some type of task. That can happen with many different people. Dry mouth is another feeling that can occur. And again, a lot of people, again, it can manifest in many different ways where you feel like, oh my God, I have to have something to drink, or I can't catch my breath. I can't feel like I can like taste anything. It's not comfortable any longer. These are agitated feelings that a lot of people have when anxiety starts to come and starts to manifest. Restlessness. And I talked about this a little bit in the last live, but many of us, whether you are of school age or you are elderly, when you start to have a lot of things on your mind and you're not doing the necessary things to empty out your brain in the evening so you can begin to at least process the day to day, a lot of times people cannot sleep. And even if you close your eyes for a little bit or you feel like you're taking a little bit of a nap, if you find yourself having an inability to sleep throughout the night, say you fall asleep and you didn't even know you were asleep, and then next thing you know you are awake, and not only are you awake, but then your eyes are open and you don't even feel tired anymore, or you really do feel tired but you just can't sleep. that is definitely feelings of restlessness. A lot of people have different theories about restlessness. Sometimes people say, try to do an activity to try to make yourself sleepy again. Some people say to stay in bed, so you could continue to have your body at least indicating that you want to sleep. But feelings of restlessness can definitely be a sign of anxiety, fatigue. So, on the other end of restlessness, if you're feeling like you're not getting enough sleep, say if you're attempting to get the necessary sleep that you need every night, and it can depend on the person. Some people can function off of 4 or 5 hours of sleep. Some people need between 6 to 8 to 10 to I hope not 12, but many people need various amounts of sleep. But if you find yourself having an inability to not only sleep, but be able to feel refreshed when you wake up, that can definitely be a sign of fatigue, the inability of getting rest, getting proper rest. Difficulty concentrating. Now, I know many of us, again, when you have multiple things going on in your life and many different things that you're experiencing, you can definitely have difficulty concentrating. Me, myself, I'm a person, I need to-do lists. I need to have a notebook on hand, because when you have a lot of things going on, you can easily forget all the things you need to complete, right? So, difficulty concentrating, if you're in front of someone, if you're trying to do one single task and your mind is wandering all over the place, that is definitely something that you should attend to. I think the concentration thing is definitely something that has increased with the age of social media. And I talked about this a little bit in the previous live, which I would definitely encourage you to check out. We have many different lives that you can observe and watch, and definitely get all the pieces put together of the many different topics that we've been talking about through Mental Health Awareness Month. But I think it's really important when it comes to concentration. Many of us use our phones when we have like idle time, or we start to get in the habit of just looking at our phones or playing on our phones or going through social media, scrolling through. We're not even looking for nothing in particular. We're just trying to pass the time, right? That can also be a way that can increase the difficulty in concentrating. Many people use many different platforms in many different ways of trying to get yourself back into the rhythm of trying to focus in, or trying to be able to concentrate on one particular thing. But if you're having difficulty maintaining the process of thinking through or completing tasks at once, it's definitely something to consider around anxiety. Irritability. Now, let's be honest. How many of you have woken up, particularly us working people, particularly those who are in school or have had experiences with school? How many people have woke up and already get in a bad mood thinking about going to work, going to school, going to that event, trying to finish that project, trying to talk to a particular person, having a meeting? Most of us, if not all of us, have experienced that, right? Feeling just like you're just not quite as happy. You're not quite as bubbly and open, because it's almost like you're anticipating, again, the inevitable. You're anticipating maybe something to go wrong. You're anticipating dealing with some foolishness. You're anticipating someone saying something that is completely not where you anticipated. So I think it's really important when it comes to irritability that we definitely check ourselves with that and say, okay, is it actually that person that's irritating me, or is it actually something else? Is it multiple things that I have going on that's kind of causing some concern and a lot of, again, anxiety that is going on in my life? Tense muscles. Now it's interesting because a lot of people recently have started to learn about TMJ. TMJ is actually a disorder that affects your jaw, right? So when you start to have tension, we talk about tension in your muscles. So it can be like muscle spasms. It can be, oh my God, my back is hurting, my hip is hurting, your back is popping. Maybe you're having not as much energy. But one of the things when it comes to TMJ, it comes from stress. right? It comes from having a lot of worry, a lot of difficulty, and it's actually something that affects your jaw. And so if any of you have ever experienced that, it actually affects your ability to open your mouth in a certain way. So say if you were trying to talk and all of a sudden you experience like you can't open your jaw all the way, or your jaw locks in place, like and you have intense pain. It could be multiple different things. You'd be grinding your teeth at night. It can be many different things, but it's actually a disorder called TMJ. So I definitely recommend, if you all are experiencing any type of jaw pain, many of us clench our teeth, particularly either we are irritated or we're having some type of worry, or that's like our way of kind of coping when we can't verbally articulate our frustrations or whatever we're experiencing. But that is something I definitely recommend, if you're having that, to contact your dentist or contact your primary care physician, because that's actually something that can affect you in terms of anxiety, is like that inability to even talk. Tense muscles is something you can start having so much pain where you are taking a lot of muscle relaxers or a lot of pain medication. That is definitely something to observe when it comes to just having difficulty with other areas in your life, and it can manifest in that way. Trouble falling or staying asleep. It kind of goes back to the restlessness. If you find yourself not being able to get a full night's sleep, or you're not able to even fall asleep in the first place, like you're tired, like your body is telling you you're tired, but your mind is just going, that is something to definitely attend to as well. That is a sign that, you're having some excessive worry. Something is going on that is important for you to attend to. Panic attacks. Many people have experienced this, and panic attacks can look many different ways. It can manifest itself when people think that they might be having a heart attack, right? Their chest is tight and they have difficulty breathing or having shortness of breath. They can't catch their breath. Many people just have an difficult, like their body is starting to give up on them. Again, because it can mirror other types of health concerns. It's something that's definitely needing to be addressed and attended to if you have ever experienced an anxiety attack. And I would definitely encourage you to look up more information about that if you feel like that you might have experienced that. Some panic attacks are completely debilitating. You are literally unable to move forward with the day or move forward with whatever activity you've had. You literally have to stop everything you're doing. And a lot of times, that's something that a lot of people can't afford to do. A lot of people don't have the types of platforms in their life to be able to stop what they're doing because of whatever health concern or whatever physical manifestation is happening for them at that particular time. Avoiding social situations. Now, I am a person, I love social media. I love being able to interact with people. And one of the things I tell people a lot is, when you're an introvert, you are automatically selectively social, meaning that it takes a lot of energy out of you to engage with people, to really have interactions with people. And so it's important to protect your space. At the same time, it's a difference between like you needing to energize yourself, and that is just who you are as a being, versus if you are typically enjoy the company of certain individuals, or you are a person that gets a lot of energy being around crowds. You're an extrovert and you're finding yourself not being quite in the mood to be around people most of the time. If you look forward to canceled plans, if you look forward to people not calling, or you maybe saying, oh no, I declined going to a particular event, and that is not like you, that can also be a telltale sign of anxiety as well. And the final thing is having phobias or irrational fears. Again, this can look many different ways for people. We just had some storms in the last 24 hours in the Midwest. And so many people can have anxiety around an upcoming storm. It can start like, oh, like the rain is coming down and you're like, oh my gosh, or it's coming down harder, or you're hearing thunder. Many different things can try to cause anxiety with people. But when you are in a space where you are, you impend a natural disaster, or you impend something going wrong, it could definitely cause a lot of anxiety. You start to have that tension, start to have that worry and concern. And so having fears, it could be anything from natural disaster to you having a fear of animals, having a fear of being in certain spaces, closed spaces. Many different things are ways that you can definitely attend to anxiety. So again, that's not a comprehensive list. Is definitely just a couple of different areas of how anxiety can manifest itself. I will pause real quick. If you are tuning in either through a live or a replay, thank you so much. I am DeShara Doub. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of Vision of Promise LLC. Please like our Facebook page. We also have an Instagram, both Vision of Promise LLC. You are more than welcome to share our content with your loved ones. This is free information. It's information that's helpful for anybody. Some people are not comfortable with saying, I need help. Some people aren't comfortable saying, hey, I would like some information on X, Y, and Z. And so I think it's really important to be able to share content like this with your loved ones. Again, like our social media pages. And if you have questions about us, you can visit our website, www.thevisionofpromise.com. So let's talk about ways of managing anxiety. So we've talked about how anxiety manifests itself, how some symptoms that can occur with anxiety, but how do you treat anxiety? What can you do to make sure that you're attending to that? So again, this is not a comprehensive list.